Well, good day, everyone. We're going to start 27 seconds early, according to my clock. G'day, Paul. Good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on, Graham. I'll put my camera on so you can all see me.
Well, I'll put my camera on then as well. It might make things a little more cordial, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully, that's right. Hopefully. So the topic of our conversation is secular versus Christian morality. And by secular, you're defining that as non-religious, not Christian, specifically in this context. So essentially atheist, agnostic, unbeliever morality.
Well, not necessarily atheist, no, because you can have people that are Christians or religious and they prefer a secular type of lifestyle. So no, I wouldn't say it was an atheist, because like I say, atheist obviously is somebody who doesn't believe in a God, but somebody can agree with secular morality and be religious. So I think the two are slightly separate.
Well, that'll be interesting to examine then, because I'd be interested in any Christian agreeing with that. What does that mean? So yeah, we can examine that as we go along. But this conversation came up. Was it on Praise's channel, if I remember correctly?
Yeah.
It was some time ago, from memory.
Yeah.
I was trying to argue that there is no basis for secular morality if God doesn't exist, except people's opinions. So that's essentially where we might try and head with this. If you're okay with that.
Yeah, and to be honest, I would agree with that. Yeah, there is no basis for there is nothing outside of the human mind for morality. I mean, the universe doesn't care what we do. You're in the universe and you're looking towards this little blue dot. The universe doesn't care whether it's here tomorrow. The universe doesn't care if the Earth was to be gone tomorrow. I don't think there's anything out there that cares. The only thing that does care is us as human beings. It's us that care. So it's us that develop our own morality over time, which is due to probably started off originally through the nature of human beings and other animals, because other animals do have some sort of kind of a moral code as such, and I think it develops from that. So we just got to come to an agreement as humans on what the basic of the morality is going to be based on, and then it becomes not just like an idea. You've got a grounding for it, and that's where the grounding comes from what we agree with. And most secular morality will go with the basic human well-being. That's the very basic of it, and then you build on from there. And like I said the other day, that can then also get passed on to other living animals, like how we treat animals. And you did mention about plants, and actually after that I thought, well, yeah, actually it includes plants as well. We do have certain plants that are protected. So yeah, that morality can be passed on to onto plants. If certain plants are extremely rare, we'll try and protect them and make a law where it's illegal for people to pick them flowers or destroy the habitat in which they are. So that's how it progresses onto other living things as well as ourselves.
So the scientific consensus is evolution, which you agree with the scientific consensus. So you agree with them on the Big Bang, and you agree with them?
Not necessarily. No, I don't know enough. I've always said this, that me being an atheist has got nothing to do with evolution. It's got nothing to do with the Big Bang.
That's not what I said.
No, but what I'm saying, you said that I agree with the science, what science says about the Big Bang and about evolution. I can't say I agree with it because I'm not that educated on what the Big Bang is. I've watched things on the Big Bang and they get about 20 minutes into watching something and I'm totally lost. I don't understand it. And like I said, I didn't believe.
But you're prepared to accept that they're right, or you just go, I don't know?
I think they're right on some things, but I think that if we use it on a scale of 100%, how much we know about the origin of the universe. So 100% we know everything. I think we're probably lucky if we're at about 10%.
Right. So it's possible that they're wrong about the Big Bang, possible that they're wrong about evolution.
Not totally. They might have certain things wrong about the Big Bang. There might be a lot more to learn about the Big Bang, which will then change what our understanding of what the Big Bang is. But like I say, I'm not educated on the Big Bang. Same with evolution. I agree that evolution exists, and we do see changing in species and different animals. But again, there was probably more to learn about it. A lot of people say, Darwinian evolution. Now, what Darwin understood about evolution back in his day, it's completely different to what we understand about evolution now. We know far more about it than what he did in the day. So that's how it's progressed on. And in another 100 years, we'll probably know far more about it than what we do today. There might be certain parts of evolution that's been thrown out. That bit's not right, and this new bit's coming. Things change like that. But again, evolution to me has got nothing to do with not believing in a God. People can be Christian, Muslim, and also agree with evolution and the Big Bang.
Yeah, but you can't be an atheist and believe in creation. Evolution's your only option.
Yeah, well, yeah, on that one, yeah, but it doesn't mean you've got to accept the evolution or the Big Bang 100% and just go, yes, I believe 100% of what they tell me because of science.
No, and I'm not saying that you have to accept it. They people who do believe these things have different opinions about times and how things might have occurred and so forth, and each side says the other side is wrong, and I agree with both of them that the other side is wrong. So 500 years ago, the consensus in science was geocentrism because Aristotle had said so 1,500 years or so earlier. And that was, can't dispute Aristotle. And so that became the consensus in science. And when people like Copernicus and Kepler and Tycho Brahe and others started doing observations, Galileo, started doing observations and started proposing, well, no, maybe there's a simpler way to understand this, and the Earth revolves around the sun rather than the sun going around the Earth. Now, they weren't completely incorrect because the planets moved. And from our perspective, the sun moved. They weren't completely incorrect, but foundationally, they were completely incorrect.
Yeah, but they were back in them days. They were justified in what they believed. They had a justified belief in that because, like you're saying, they could see the stars moving. They could see the sun and the moon. They could see it moving across the sky. So you can understand why they would think that it was them planetary bodies that were moving and the Earth wasn't. So they were perfectly justified in that. But obviously, as we've progressed on and get more understanding of the universe, we realise that that's not the case.
But it's because they were ignorant. And my point is they were fundamentally completely wrong. But you said earlier, so I'm trying to make a comparison between the Big Bang and evolution and the consensus that science had 500 years ago about geocentrism.
Yeah.
And you said they're not completely wrong. Well, I would agree with you because there are things that evolution, like you said, evolution says that there is change. Yeah, I agree. I agree with change. That's not evolution. Evolution is claiming much more than just that animals change.
But
Evolution.
Again, I've already said, I'm not educated on evolution. I'm not educated on the Big Bang. For me and you to actually get into a discussion on what's right and what's wrong about the two. I don't follow evolution. I don't follow the Big Bang. I don't really care less about it, to be fair.
Well, my point's not so much about what's right and wrong about it. My point is that's essentially your only option. You don't have creation. You don't have an external objective sense of morality. And since evolution is the only option, this idea of morality, of us caring for each other, seems to me counter to evolution. Evolution teaches survival of the fittest. This is one.
Right. Yeah, got you. Yeah, got you. Yeah. So on that one there, what I would say is morality in evolution does actually work, because if me and you, for argument's sake, a couple of thousand years ago, me and you were wandering through the jungle or the desert or whatever it is, and I'm trying to catch, say, like a deer. I'm starving. I'm trying to catch this deer and I can't catch it. And me and you sort of like meet, and we're a bit standoffish with each other. We don't know how to take each other, whether you're a threat to me, whether I'm a threat with you. But we've got the ability to communicate and talk, which is what humans have got the ability to do. And I say to you, look, I'm trying to catch this deer. I haven't eaten for 3 days. I'm starving. And you go, well, I'm starving as well. And I've been trying to catch stuff, you know, and we can say, look, I've been trying for 3 days. I cannot catch it. I cannot corner this deer. And you go, well, if I go down there and you force the deer into this bit here, I can catch it. And then we can share the food with each other. Now, that's beneficial if we come to an agreement about that. So we benefit each other. So having a morality and agreeing with, and that would be like the basic of the morality, we would agree that if whoever catches the deer, we're both to help each other, we will share the food. Or we can just not have any morality whatsoever, don't want to just totally ignore the other person and let them go on their own way, or even battle with each other. That would be a detriment to both of you. Whereas you're both colluding together, that is an advantageous, that is a way of surviving. So survival as the fittest doesn't mean that I'm stronger than you and I can kill you, therefore that's what I'm going to do. Now, that's what animals that aren't social animals or pack animals, that's the sort of thing that they will do because they don't have this morality sort of idea in the brain. Like bears, outside of the breeding season, 2 male bears meet each other, that they will sometimes fight to the death. But then you get the other side where you get like a pack of wolves. They are a social creature. So they will collude together for the better of the group, which is also better for the individual as well.
So what I'm suggesting to you is that seems to be only part of the answer, because I could equally decide that you're competition for me to breed with other females, for example. And so I get rid of you, so that them and evolution teaches that as well. So it's essentially a morality of convenience, and it's also a morality of whoever is the most powerful or the sneakier or the luckier can win this battle. So if I think that it might benefit me in a certain circumstance to make an alliance with you, yeah, sure, but only while I think it advantages me. And then as soon as I think, oh no, I think I have more advantage this other way, by getting rid of you for whatever reason, then I can do that as well. So it's a very, I mean, I guess we're back to, yes, a very subjective morality. So we do talk about cooperation, but there seems to be real limits on it.
Yeah, and I think probably going back further and further in history, it probably was very much like that. But as human beings have progressed throughout time, societies have grown up, and you know, it's not just a case that they're just a group like a pack of wolves moving about. You know, a little bit of infrastructure starts getting developing, and obviously when farming comes along, what you were saying there about it's advantageous at the moment for me to then try and kill you, and that as things change, and like I say, as we sort of like develop into a more of a group mentality than just like a pack, that then would get rid of, or not get rid of it, but it would reduce the amount of times that would happen. But I'm not disputing that, people do see an advantage in taking somebody out, so that's what would have happened. And in the past, that would have happened. But as the social construct has developed over thousands of years, we've come to where we are today, which isn't perfect even now. It's far from perfect.
But I would like to suggest that there's more to it than that still, because if I'm the most powerful person and I've got a group of powerful people that help me, I can go around killing whoever I want, so long as I am able to hang on to that power. So once again, the cooperation is limited. And essentially, this is one of the things that Hitler was doing. And he was a very strong believer in evolution. He was actually supported by leading evolutionists of the day in what he was doing. They said he was carrying out evolution. Sir Arthur Keith said that, who was considered the leading evolutionist of the day. And now evolutionists want to distance themselves from this and say, oh, no, that's got nothing to do with evolution. But let's try and follow this through. this survival of the fittest mentality. And one of the things that Hitler did was he tried to eliminate the physically disabled, those with genetic abnormalities, to try and keep the gene pool purer. And, you know, if evolution is true, why not?
Because, like I said earlier on, if you have the basic of the very basic of morality is human well-being, it would go against that. You've got to have a grounding. You can't just have morality and just sort of like choose things just because it's convenient to you. You've got to have a basic to what your morality is. And my basic for what my morality would be, the very basic grounding of that would be human well-being.
And Hitler would argue that it is human well-being because Germany will become a stronger nation. It won't have its resources drained.
But it's human well-being for everybody, not just for the individual.
Right.
My human well-being is for everybody.
Right. So that's an important distinction, because it's not just human well-being, because you can turn human well-being into different things. It's human well-being for everybody. Why?
Because it benefits me.
How does it benefit you to keep alive people who are a drain on resources from an evolutionary point of view?
Because I might have been born with a disability, therefore it would be me that would be getting wiped out. One of my children might have a disability. Members of my family or close friends, they might have children and they might have a disability, and I wouldn't want to see them suffer. So to protect myself for me getting a disability later on in life, or having children that may have a disability, it protects them as well. You've got to look. You can't just look at yourself all the time. You've got to look about people around you, the group that you live in. You know, do I care if my next door neighbour has a child that's disabled? Yeah, of course I do. I feel for the next door neighbour. Would I want that child to be taken away and destroyed just because society wants to do it? Well, of course I do. So yeah, it's not just about myself. It's about, let's say, friends, families. And also, who would want to live in a society like that? Well, living in a society like that just wipes people out because we deem them unfit or whatever. It'd be a horrible place to live. And I want to live in the best place that is possible. It could be better, but
well, there
what
are
you were
people
describing sounds horrendous.
Yeah, but there are people who think like that.
Oh yeah, of course there is. Yeah, there's people. I mean, we would agree, me and you, that it's wrong to just go around murdering people, but we know that people will go around doing that, and we'll never get rid of that sort of attitude. But as a society, we've got to stick together and try and get rid of that sort of attitude, whether it's sending them to jail or whatever it is, or different education.
Okay, well, the other question that you raised earlier, topic that you raised earlier that caused a question in my mind, was the distinction you made, the way you were talking about secular morality, that there are Christians that could agree with secular morality.
Yeah, they could agree with the basics of it, yeah.
So how are you distinguishing between what you're calling secular morality and Christian morality, where Christians are agreeing with the secular morality?
Because to me, whether it's a Christian morality or any religious morality, if it's based on what their God wants, then it's not based on necessarily what we would class as being logical. There's no logical reason behind it. Just if God says it's good, it's good. If God says, I want you to, like it does have in the Bible, I've forgotten which person it was. If God says, I want you to take your son out and I want you to sacrifice your son to me to show your obedience to me, and then if God says that, that's a perfectly good thing to do. But us as rational human beings would say, no, even if that God does exist, let's just for argument's sake say that God does exist, that is wrong regardless of how much power that God has. It's wrong. But you would have to agree, if you agree with that morality comes from your God, then morality is exactly what your God says. If it means kill your son, then you can kill your son.
Except that I would disagree with you that it's not logical. I do believe that it is logical.
It's logical to do it?
It's God's the source of logic.
Yeah, so if God says for you to kill your son, then it's perfectly logical for you to kill your son.
Right. Well, let me make the case for it and bear with me.
Okay.
So if the Bible is true, right, and to judge this fairly for the purposes of this argument, you have to assume that. Otherwise, you're tearing the thing apart by assuming that it's not true already anyway. But if the Bible is true, what God had said to Abraham decades earlier, before that son was born, is, I'm going to make you the father of many nations. And so Abraham believed God, and decades later, God kept repeating it and kept confirming it in various ways to Abraham. And then finally, he did have that son. And then he commands Abraham to sacrifice that son. And I understand where you're coming from. I've wrestled with this idea for ages, and I've thought, what on earth is going on here? This seems bizarre. God is commanding murder. Surely that's wrong. Let me make a case for what is actually happening here. God commands him to sacrifice his son. Abraham obeys, trusting God because God has proven himself, and God has promised he will make him the father of many nations. When his wife is past the age of childbearing, they have a son. His wife doesn't believe it, but he continues to believe God because God has proven himself. So he takes this son that God has proven himself faithful in supplying, and he takes him up to sacrifice him. And in Abraham's head, according to the Bible, he knew that his son would come back down the mountain with him. He didn't know how. In Abraham's head, he was thinking, maybe I will have to kill my son, it seems to me, but then God will bring him back to life again. Based on the information that we have in the Bible, that seems to be what's going on. But that's not what actually happens. He doesn't have to kill his son. He goes to kill his son, and the angel of the Lord, I believe it's actually Jesus, appears and says, no, stop. Thank you for being faithful. There's a ram. Kill the ram instead. And so Abraham believes God because God has proven himself. And so the logical, and there's one more thing. The logical basis for this in Abraham's mind is God has proven himself. I can trust God. God's not going to do anything that's wrong. But there's one more thing. God uses this as an illustration of what he's going to do for us. God sacrifices his son in our place. And there's a fascinating line in that story where Isaac says to Abraham, hey, because Abraham hasn't told Isaac. Isaac doesn't know what's going on. He's carrying the wood. And as they're going up the mountain, Isaac says to Abraham, I've got the wood, we've got the fire, but where's the sacrifice? And Abraham responds, God will provide himself a sacrifice. There's two ways to understand that. God himself will provide a sacrifice. God will provide himself as a sacrifice. And I believe both are intended in the passage, because in the instance of Abraham and Isaac, even though Abraham might not have understood it, God did provide a sacrifice. But in the case of Jesus, God provides himself a sacrifice. Now, I'm not expecting you to see the logic of all of that, because part of understanding that logic is to accept the gospel, God's incredible gift to us to rescue us from our sin. And so there's a logic package that's going on that you're going, that doesn't make sense to me. And I would agree, yeah, I don't think you're fully going to see the logic in it because you don't accept the gospel.
Yeah, I don't see the logic in it. You're perfectly correct. It's not just the fact that Abram didn't have to kill his son. It's the fact that he went through the process in the first place to do it. Now, that must have been, obviously, if you were to drag your son out and your son thinks he's going to get sacrificed, I mean, the mental trauma that would cause towards your son. The fact that whether it's God or whether somebody forces you to take your son out to kill your son and you think you're going to have to do it, again, the mental torment that would do to you. If somebody was to come up to you and, I don't know, being able to hold you some sort of ransom to force you to drag your son out and say, right, you're going to take your son out and you're going to cut your son's throat, and I'm going to make you do it. And he drags you outside, and you'll think he's going to make me do this. The fact that it doesn't, in the end, doesn't alter the fact that the trauma that he's put you and the son through, that's just an immoral act in itself, without actually having to go through it.
And I would like to suggest to you that neither of them had any torment in it, because they knew they could trust God.
Well, that's your interpretation of it. I don't know how you can come to that conclusion, but...
No, I know you don't.
No.
Because you're looking at it and going, well, you don't trust God. So you're standing in judgment over God, and you don't have the evidence that Abraham had and Isaac was trusting in as well. And God had proven himself numerous times. Isaac himself was an evidence of God proving that he could be trusted.
Yeah, I understand that's how you interpret it. But I mean, it's not just that. I mean, when we're talking about morality, so we look at the Bible. So that's what you think that, or God, that's where you think morality comes from. My argument against that, or why I would have objections to that, is that what would make morality right or wrong would be purely on what God says, not any logical process. It's purely on what God says. If God says do this, then this is good. Whereas when it comes to secular morality, like I say, if you've got the basics, which is human well-being, then you can develop from that. And there's a logical process to how we get to the conclusion of what is good and what is bad. But where in yours, it's good because God says so, or it's bad because God says so. Now, I did get a couple of verses from the Bible.
Can I stop you before you go any further? Because I want to deal with what you've claimed so far. So two claims that you've made. One is that it's just good because God says so. No, it's good because of who God is. He says so because it's his character. He is the ground. So you said there's no logical reason earlier as well. No, God is the logical ground for it. He's the source of logic. And we can talk about logic as well. I don't see how there's any logic without God.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I know where you'd go with that. It'd be a bit like a Daft Dawkins type. That's basically like his argument. Without God, nothing.
I don't listen to Daft Dawkins, but yeah, there are people beside him who argue this.
Yeah,
I don't know what his argument is. But logic requires a mind, and so did logic. Is logic something we just made up?
No, it's just in our makeup. I don't know where it comes from. Like you could argue that it's because of evolution and stuff, but I don't know whether that's where it comes from. But if evolution is correct, then it would do. But basically, it's just the nature of human beings. We have a logical brain. We have an inquisitive mind. We like to learn things. We like to find out how things work. And it's just the makeup of human beings. Where it originally comes from, I don't think is relevant. We all possess it to a certain degree.
Well, it's very relevant to our conversation. Just assuming that it exists doesn't mean that, like your worldview, you can't explain how it came to be.
No, but I live with it, and I've got to deal with the fact that I'm around people that have a logical mind. I believe I've got a logical mind. I've got to deal with what I'm presented with. Where it came from, I don't think is really relevant. The fact that.
Okay, well, that's going in circles. Let's get back to morality then.
What I was going to say is I presume you would agree that you wouldn't like to live under a morality based on the Islamic religion.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, so basically where I'm coming from is I feel exactly the same way you do about the Islamic religion as I do about yours. So I wouldn't want to live under a Christian morality, the same as I wouldn't like to live under an Islamic morality. And that's why I say that I think secular morality is far more superior than any religious morality.
And I would suggest to you that you are living under a Christian morality insofar as there are still good elements left that have not yet been fully eroded by the secular thinking.
There's certain parts of Christian, what you would class as Christian morality, that I would agree with. But again, I don't think there's actually such a thing as Christian morality, because it would have to be exclusive.
Hang on.
To
what
no,
you
no,
just said
no.
you wouldn't want to live under Christian
No.
morality,
Yeah,
but you're also
I know. It does sound a bit like I'm doing that. What I'm saying is where you would come from is, well, okay, which part of Christian morality do I live under?
Well, it's Christian morality: do not steal, do not murder, do not commit adultery. Although adultery is not considered a crime anymore.
No.
But that's to a degree. I don't know how much, and this is one of the things that is debated, how much Christian morality should be imposed on the broader society. And this is where secularism first started, is we don't expect non-Christians to live up to the Christian standard. So when we say Christian morality, are we talking about what Christians are expected to live up to, or what a government influenced by Christianity should expect of the population? What laws should be written? And there's debate about that. The Bible wasn't specifically written to deal with that, because to some degree, I mean, we're never expecting that biblical Christianity, other forms of so-called Christianity, can take over the government, but biblical Christianity never will, because it will never be in the majority, and shouldn't, as far as I can tell from Scripture. But let's go back to, so what do you object?
I just the first bit you just mentioned, because what you've just mentioned there was exactly where I was going to go. Do not steal, do not murder, and whatever. I do not class that as Christian morality at all. That is human morality, because if that was a Christian morality, then it would be exclusive to Christians, and it's not. People of all different denominations and throughout the world, that people that have never even heard of Christianity will still have follow that type of morality. So therefore, it's not a Christian morality. Do not steal, do not murder. I don't class that as coming from Christianity.
Yeah, but you're assuming, though, that Christianity started when Jesus came to earth. But what Christianity actually claims is that morality came from the God who sent Jesus. Jesus is that God. And he has put it in our hearts. So that morality is in our hearts, not because Christianity invented it, but because that God of that morality created all human beings.
Yeah, but I don't see where you're getting to me, that's me just saying it's part of the nature. So it's part of the nature of human beings to be like that, and you're just saying that God put it there. I don't see how you can get to that when, like I said, there can be certain people that have never even heard of Christianity, but will still follow the basic rules of morality, which usually, again, boils down to usually the basic of human well-being.
But you've got to accept the actual claims of Christianity, not your idea about what Christianity is, that people have to hear of Christianity, have Christian morals. That's not what Christianity claims.
I just wouldn't class that as if I had to write down a list of what would be Christian morality, do not steal, do not murder would not be on that list, because it's not exclusive to Christianity. Now, you could pick, say, another religion, say like the Muslim religion, where you could pick something in there, but they would say, well, that's exclusive to Muslims. You can't do that with do not kill, do not murder, do not commit adultery. You can't point that specifically to Christianity.
Yeah, we're circling again. You keep arguing from the same basis, and I'm saying that's not what Christianity claims. So what do you reject in Christian morality?
Well, the reason I would reject Christian morality for it to actually be what our laws was based on is, again, because it would be good because God says it's good. And like I said, there was a couple of passages in the Bible that I took out, which one of them was Timothy 2, but I do suffer not a woman to teach. So again, this could be used as a way of classing women as second-class citizens, because it's clearly stated in the Bible. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. Now, why should women be treated second class to men? That would be one that I would be against. There's another one in Deuteronomy.
Well, can I deal with them?
Child,
well,
yep.
We're not under Deuteronomy. I don't know why you're bringing Deuteronomy up. That was for
because
the Jews.
it's in the Bible, and what I was
but we're not Jews. Neither of us two are Jews, and Christians aren't subject. That's the old covenant. That's why it's called the Old Testament. We're not under that law.
So the Ten Commandments has gone then?
I didn't say the Ten Commandments have gone.
You said it was under the Old Testament, and that's gone. So the Ten Commandments is part of the Old Testament.
I didn't say gone. Not using the word gone. Let me explain it. The Ten Commandments aren't gone. The Ten Commandments were commanded to the Jews. 9 of those 10 commandments are repeated in the New Testament. 9 of them. All right? The 10 commandments aren't gone. The 10 commandments are still commands to the Jews.
Right, okay, that's the way you look at it. That's fine, fair enough. But
that's what the Bible teaches.
But what I was going to say, that if an authority, say in the UK, was to introduce religion, the Christian religion as where our basics from morality come from, these passages in the Bible, they could use them to class women as second-class citizens.
No, because 1 Timothy was written to a pastor, not to a government official.
So which laws or commandments in the Bible would you follow? Which one would be the ones that you would follow?
Well, I would follow that one in the church because it's for the church, not for the government.
In the church?
It's not for the whole nation. Yeah, that's the context. He's writing to a pastor about how a church is to operate.
Right. So, So having against a woman to preach in church. What's wrong with that? Why can't a woman teach in church?
Paul gives the reasons in the passage. If you keep reading the passage, it's because God created Adam first and Eve second. And secondly, because Adam was not deceived and Eve was.
No, Adam was deceived.
No, he wasn't.
Right. I thought Eve persuaded him to eat the apple.
Yes, but he did it knowing what was happening. She was deceived. She didn't understand what was happening, and Adam did.
But that's still putting women as below men.
How?
Because it's saying that men can do this thing and women can't. So men can teach in a church, a woman cannot.
Can you bear children?
That's got nothing to do with it.
Well, it's something you can't do. So you're second class because it's something you can't do?
Yeah, on that, it's something that I can't do. But a woman being able to teach in the church, that is something that she can do. She can do it. She's been stopped from doing it. I'm not being stopped from giving. But I'm not being stopped from giving birth. I just
let me give another example. Can you walk into the Prime Minister's residence?
Yes.
Only with permission.
Yeah, but can the Prime Minister walk into my residence? No, only with permission from me.
Right. So who's second class?
We're both equal on that part, aren't we? This is where I live, so I decide who comes in and goes out. That's where he lives. He decides who comes in and goes out. So nobody.
It's actually a lot more complicated than that. It's not just the Prime Minister.
It probably would be.
It's a lot simpler for your house. But just because someone is restricted from doing something, that doesn't mean that they're second class. Police can speed on the highway. They can break laws that we can't. Does that mean we're second class? No, it means that they have a different role.
Yeah, but I can be a police officer.
Yes, and if you were a police officer, then you could break those laws as well. And so your point is going to be a woman can't be a man.
No, it's not.
And we're back to you can't bear children.
No, we're not, because a woman can clearly teach in church, because they do in this country. There are certain churches that have women priests and vicars. So they clearly can do it, but you're saying that they should be stopped from doing it.
Well, the Bible says they should be.
And the examples that you've given, I can also do as well. So if I want to join the police, I can join the police and I can speed down the road. But again, it still comes under certain rules. police officer can't just speed down the roads. There has to be a reason for him to do it. So, no, it's still equal.
Yeah, well, I'm not seeing them as second-class citizens. I'm seeing it as different roles.
But can't you see how a woman might class it as a second-class citizen if she wants to?
And you are as well.
Yes,
I can see. I can see that you're claiming that, but I would still say that's just an assertion.
Well, no, because you are literally saying that you agree with that a woman should not be allowed to teach in a church.
I don't agree that they're second-class citizens.
But you agree that they shouldn't be allowed to do something that you can do.
Correct. But that doesn't mean they're second-class citizens.
It's showing favoritism towards men than it is women on this particular point. And you can see how that could be interpreted different to you, where it says that basically, it does say there that I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence.
Yep, and I know there are people that...
Yeah.
Sorry?
I was saying that, where's the authority bit? If somebody's just teaching in church, that isn't necessarily showing authority. That's just teaching.
Well, it doesn't say that teaching is usurping authority. He says teaching or usurping authority, two separate things. Both of them are forbidden.
What if the where I work, if my immediate boss was a woman, she would show authority over me.
But it's not written to employers. It's not written to businesses. It's written to a pastor. It's about the church.
Yeah, but can you see how it can be interpreted to mean that? Some people have argued that.
No, I don't see how it can be interpreted to mean that.
Right.
Because that's not what it's saying.
No, and even in the way that you're describing it, it's still showing a woman to be slightly lower than a man. That's right. I
disagree.
Yeah, I know you do, yeah. Anyway, I think we've beaten that one to death.
Yep. I don't think we... Well, I don't know. I think we're a little clearer on each other's position.
Yeah, I mean, I still disagree with that. A woman shouldn't be allowed to pursue a career in the church if she so wishes. I don't see why it should be given favoritism. Some women can teach. You've got some men that are not very good at teaching. They're not very good at getting the word across. Some women are really good at it, so I can't see why a man would be better than a woman necessarily.
So, better. No, don't do that. It doesn't say better. It's just they're forbidden.
Yeah, but there's no logic why they should be forbidden.
Well, there is. There are reasons given.
But the reason is from what a woman did prior to that. Why should all women have to not allowed to teach in the church because of what Eve did?
No, there were two reasons given. One of them was what the woman did and what the man didn't do. And the other one was what God did.
Because man was created before a woman was.
Mm-hmm. And if you read to the next chapter, excuse me, because there are restrictions on men as well.
Go on, what then?
Well, he talks about bishops, which I think is a poor translation in our modern world. It really means shepherd is the idea, which some people equate with elder. And then there's another title or position called the deacon. And there are restrictions, there are expectations, there's a standard for you to be able to do those roles. And if you don't measure up to that standard, you're forbidden.
But it would still be a man that got that role, so it wouldn't be... So it wouldn't be restrictions on men, would it? It'd be restrictions on positions, same as there is now. There's certain restrictions on me. If I'm not qualified to do something, then I can't do it, and somebody else can do it.
No, but you were talking...
I'm just saying that you were saying there is also restrictions on men as well, but what example you give there wasn't a restriction on a man. It was the criteria that the man must meet to get to that position.
Yeah, and so it's still a restriction on him. unless he meets those criteria. And how many men meet those criteria? Most men don't.
Yeah, but that's again, that's not a restriction on men as a whole, as it is in with women. It's a restriction on all women. This isn't a restriction on all men. All men can try to do this, and if they're successful, they can. If they're not successful, they can't. Which is the same in life. There's certain things that I can do, and certain things I've got a pilot's license. I can fly an airplane. If you don't have a pilot's license, then you're restricted. You cannot do it.
But those
you
restrictions
can learn to do it, and you can do it. But
which is the point that I'm trying to make.
But a woman can't. So let's say women cannot fly. We're banning women from flying. That's basically what you're doing.
Paul, I'm trying to make a point, and you're assuming and jumping ahead and making assertions. I'm trying to make the point that there are men that can't learn certain things. They don't have the gifting.
Yes.
Not everything can be learnt by every human being.
Yeah, but that's still not a restriction on men alone. They're not restricted.
I know, but it is a restriction on those men.
Yeah, but we're talking about the difference between men and women, how one is restricted and the other one isn't.
And we're also talking about restrictions. And you're saying that all women are second-class citizens, and I'm saying, yeah, but there are men who, by what you're claiming, so you're assuming that these are second-class citizens because they're restricted. Okay, well, there are men in that category as well.
No, because they're not restricted.
They are. They don't have the ability.
But they've got
and they can't learn it.
But then that's something that's the problem with them. That's not a problem with the ruling. Like I say, I can fly an aeroplane. You can't, but you're restricted. If you can't learn how to do something, then that's on you. You've still got the.
Well, you keep using that example of something that I could learn. I'm not talking about something I could learn. I'm talking about things that people can't learn, and you're ignoring that word "can't" and turning it into "won't." I didn't say "won't."
Yeah, but when it comes to a woman maybe isn't very. A certain woman might not be very good at teaching and wouldn't be suitable for the job. But and in that case, then she wouldn't be able to take the job because she wouldn't. I'm
going to have to end this because the household is going to bed.
All right. Okay. No worries. We can carry it on some other point at some other time.
Well, I think you said you had 2 days, so I'll probably be going to bed now. I don't know if you'll still be up when I get up.
What time would that be? My time. It's 10 to 11 here.
Depends how early I get to sleep. Well, it's 10. It's coming up to 10. You know, I usually get up. I mean, sometimes I'm up at 5 in the morning, but I have to be very careful trying to talk that early.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's better for me to wait until 7, so that's 9 hours from now.
Oh, that'd be 8 o'clock this evening for me then.
Well, there you go. So we might be able to.
Yeah, we might be able to do it there 8 o'clock this evening. Hang on. What day is it today? Is it? What day are we on today? Wednesday, is it? Is it Wednesday today?
Wednesday, yeah.
No, I've got nothing on. As far as I know, I've got nothing on this evening. I know we're going looking at a house this afternoon, but obviously that won't take till 8 o'clock.
Do you have WhatsApp or
Yes, I do.
Telegram? I'll email you my phone number because that might be the best way for us to keep in contact then.
Yeah. In fact, if you put it in the chat, I'll put it in now and then I can send you a message. If you put it in the private chat, obviously put it in the private chat.
That's a good way.
And then because I'm not brilliant on WhatsApp, I'll have to put it in my contacts, won't I?
Yep. So there it is.
Oh, right. So I put the plus, do I?
Yeah.
How do I do that?
There should be a plus there somewhere.
No, I've got that. That's not a plus, is it?
Go down. Show me lower. See the star?
Yeah.
See this? I think the star, if you press on star, what do you get? So I think one of those will give you another keypad. You don't see a plus there anywhere?
No, I've managed it. Press and hold the 0.
Oh, there it is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
that's right. But the 0.
So if I put add, create new contact. Right, so if I go to WhatsApp now, I should be able to.
No.
Right.
Excellent.
You've got it?
Yep.
Yeah, you've got my number then.
Hi, Graham. Test message. I assume that's you.
Yeah, it is me, yeah. Right, so, yeah, when you get up, give us a message on WhatsApp.
Excellent. Thanks, mate.
No worries, fella. And, well, I was going to say enjoy the rest of your day, but you'll be going to bed.
Enjoy the rest of the night.
Sleep. All right. Catch you later. Bye. Bye.
See you, mate.